Relationships and the language of love. You know, nothing in this world is higher than love. We all want love. It's the wealth of the heart. Today I want to talk about relationships. Intimate relationships, one-on-one, but truly speaking, that everyone we come in contact with, we have relationships with. We have relationships with groups, relationships with your classmates. And when two people come together, there's actually a third entity, a third individual, as it were, that's created. We call this the third. So each relationship has its own inner world. It can be a happy, joyful, loving world, or it can be one that's filled with anger and hatred and bitterness. So it's really important to understand the laws of love and to follow them. So the one fundamental law in relationships that we need to be aware of, that the purpose of love is to bring us together, to bring us closer to oneness. So any action, every thought that we hold in consciousness, if it brings us closer to joining, to becoming one, to uniting with, this is following the law of love. Anytime that we criticize or blame or find fault in another person, we're creating a separation. So as I mentioned, that we have relationships with individual people, we have relationships with groups, and each of these have their own inner world. And each of them have their own language. I'd like to talk about the 5 languages of love, that not all of us in the physical world express our love in the same way, and we don't all receive love in the same way. So we've discovered that there are 5 of these fundamental languages of love. The first of these is words of affirmation. When we speak to another person, if we can be kind and supportive and free from blame and criticism, this brings us closer together, closer to a union, closer to the self. Second of these major languages of love is spending quality time together. This is particularly important in individual relationships, romantic relationships. Spending quality time means connecting with each other, heart to heart. It doesn't mean sitting on the same couch and each of us texting and looking at our social media. It means spending quality time one-on-one. The third of these major languages of love is physical touch. That nothing expresses our connection and our intimacy more than just a gentle touch. And this is important to some people and not so important to others. It's important to understand what your love language is. What is it that I enjoy? What do I like? And how can I best express that to another person in a way that they can receive it? The fourth of these languages is acts of service. Doing things that the other person would appreciate, maybe cleaning the dishes or putting away your clothes or anything that you would consider an act of service and kindness. Fifth of these languages of giving gifts. Some people express their love by giving gifts. Others enjoy receiving gifts. One of the principles of giving is that the highest gift we can give is one that we can give and still have. So for example, if I give you a physical gift, you have that gift, I no longer have it. If I give you money, that's kind, but I no longer have it. But if I share with you love, kindness, appreciation, these I can give to you fully and completely, and I can still have it. So these are the real treasures. Giving the gifts that are eternal, that are timeless, that as I give, so do I receive. And these 5 languages of love are true in all of our relationships, not just our intimate one-on-one romantic relationships, but it's important to learn the language of the people that we're involved with so we can express our love in a manner that they can receive it. One of the most important things in a relationship is avoiding blame. We can offer words of advice, but if we get into a place of blaming, how do you feel when you get blamed? We contract, we withdraw into ourselves, and we create an unhealthy space that's not comfortable for everyone. So one of the keys in a relationship is learning how to give constructive feedback in a way that doesn't blame or criticize another person. Now we've learned a little bit about the process of self-inquiry, and this can be practiced in our relationships. When we find ourselves in disharmony, we find ourselves in an uncomfortable place in a relationship, one of the things we can do is offer statements, accurate statements. Instead of blaming another person, we can simply say, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, until we get a little inward shift, and then we can make B statements that would be beneficial for ourselves and others. So I would invite you to take the Shiva process, this process of self-inquiry, into your relationships. Every conversation, every gathering is subject to the laws of love. So I would encourage you to be involved with groups where you can have satsang, where you can have Sangha, have good company. This class that we're taking, for example, is a kind of a gathering, a Sangha where we can get together to discuss the truths and to practice it so that we can get closer to our own inner self. The final of these practices that we can do in relationships is the use of mantra. When we're in discord with another person, we can actually sit down and take a period of time, repeat the mantra, and dedicate it to the healing of the relationship. Whatever's in the space can be dissolved through the repetition of the mantra. I would recommend maybe a 15-minute practice where you sit with the person that you're in disharmony with, dedicate the mantra to the relationship, sit quietly together, and just repeat the mantra. Got question?
Swamiji, how is this chapter relationship and language of love linked with or associated with second education?
Let's see. Second education deals with the inner reality. And every relationship that we have has an inner reality, it's a separate inner reality. So I have an inner reality, and the person that I'm with has an inner reality. And when we choose to join together and to engage with each other, a third entity is created. So all the practices that we do in second education can be applied to this relationship. So this will improve our relationships. By having harmonious relationships, the mind can be quiet, we can meditate on ourselves and have a direct experience of knowing the truth of our own being.
You said that don't blame, rather use A statements. What kind of statements come under the category of A statements?
So A statements, as discussed by Swami Shankarananda in his lecture, these are accurate statements that describe what I'm feeling in the present moment. It's not a concept, it's not blaming or criticizing, it's simply stating, I'm feeling this way. And we repeat we try different A statements until we find the one that gives us an upward shift, a movement in our own consciousness. I might say, for example, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling contracted. I'm feeling judged. I am feeling. So instead of saying, you make me angry, I would say, I'm feeling angry. So we avoid any sort of blame or judgment values and simply state how I am feeling in this moment. And once we've hit on the right feeling, there'll be an easing, there'll be an upward, a subtle shift where the feeling improves, And that's when we can move to the B statements, which are beneficial statements, statements that can uplift me.